Dr. G, thanks for your time. So we did report last week on the Department of Education's plans to cut funding towards minority serving institutions and reprogram that for other purposes. What do we know now, several days later, about this cut?
So what we do know is that while it affects future funding opportunities, it doesn't affect the current funding opportunities for the fiscal year 2025. And the college over the weekend also just learned that we were approved for a no-cost extension for one of our grants. And there's no real deadline to that. It basically means that we could get creative about prolonging the life of the grant until the funds run out. So we've already reached out to some of the students that could be affected to let them know that, hey, we're going to do our best to prolong the life of this. Now, unfortunately, there was a grant application that we submitted to a program that basically is no longer going to be funded. And we were very confident about that grant. It would have helped us with a lot of research moving forward, particularly working with our partner institution, Portland State University, with whom we have a transfer agreement with. So for the current year and for the current recipients, we are okay. But moving forward, we are going to have to make the best of our current funding levels and to try to, make that last as long as it can. We're also looking at leveraging other grants within the institution to see how we can offset the future losses. So, the programs that are supported are primarily with our Project PROA program, and that provides tutoring services, mentoring services. We offer a lot of training for our students, and also through Project PROA is where we have the PROA Pathways transfer program with Portland State University, which includes funds for travel, which includes stipends, which includes some scholarships to help with the transition. So that will be in jeopardy for the next year, and we need to figure out a way to continue supporting those students that are currently in the program.
So there's a chance next year that we won't have this wonderful transfer program between NMC and Portland?
It boils down to how long we can prolong the life of the current grant.
Okay.
And we think we can prolong it for one more year, but for the next fiscal year, we're not going to get any new funding.
All right, and I know we learned about it through the press release from DOE, but have you received any direct communication saying that, these particular programs will be impacted? Yeah,
we've been in close contact with our federal program officer at the Department of Education, who thankfully is still there. So our officer's been very helpful in guiding us through these changes and making it clear to us what's affected and what's not affected. So it was very reassuring to know that the current funding levels are not affected and the current grants are not affected. It's just future grants that we were hoping to turn to continue servicing our students.
And do you know what's the ballpark figure for that amount for the grants that will be lost?
The last grant we applied for was $2.5 million. And so that we're not going to see that. It was a competitive grant. We felt good about our grant application, but the funding for that program no longer exists.
So it's accurate to say the DOE cuts will result in at least a $2.5 million loss next year?
At least a $2.5 million loss, yes.
In the next school year?
Yes.
Oh. So what's your reaction to this? And I know part of the politics in DC is that they say these programs, MSI, and I know NMC is designated as ANAPISI, that they're discriminatory. So, do you agree with that?
Well, in practice, our programs are not discriminatory. Whenever our Project PROA program hosts an event, we allow everyone to join. They've held mental health seminars, they've held financial literacy trainings, they've held multiple events at which everyone is welcome. And when we look at some of the programs like the PROA Pathways program, we've really expanded that to include a large number of students. And so in practice, our program has not been discriminatory. It's been focused on Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, but that's like more than 90% of our student population. So, but we have never been discriminatory, and as far as I can tell as well, our fellow NMC institutions have not been discriminatory. So it's one thing to say something is discriminatory in principle or concept, but in practice, these programs are not discriminatory.
And for those not in the world of higher ed and they hear all these acronyms, MSI, HSI, NMC, how would you describe what the intention and, like you said, the practice has been? What is the intention of an NMC designation that NMC has?
So, a lot of these minority serving institution programs, or MSI programs, are designed to assist historically marginalized groups by lifting them up, by giving them additional resources to help them succeed. And so the designation, whether it be NMC, which is the acronym for Asian American, Native American, Pacific Islander Serving Institution, or a Hispanic Serving Institution, or HSI, or a historically black college or university, an HBCU, it's designed to help the institutions help their populations, but to help their populations in totality. That's why the funding has been geared towards institutions that demonstrate they meet a certain percentage of having those marginalized populations within their broader student population. So it helps bring that funding into the institution, but that funding is not earmarked for those particular individuals or types of individuals. They're for the entire institution.
All right, and my last question, local government continues to cut. Now DOE continues to cut. What's NMC's plan moving forward to be sustainable with the cuts locally and cuts nationally?
Well, we've always been very responsible stewards of our limited financial resources. We are the only government or semi-government entity to be current in its audits. We have 18 clean audits. So what we do with that is we leverage that reputation to secure as many additional resources as we can. Oftentimes when you're considered a low-risk auditee, you qualify for more grants and more philanthropic contributions. So we've been very aggressive in working with nonprofit organizations, with philanthropic entities to secure additional funding for the college. Now that's a long-term plan. So we've also been very good about ensuring continued funding from our vast array of other federal programs, as well as advocating with our local leaders to, at the very least, maintain our funding levels, if not increase it just a little bit. We're not asking for $40 million. We're just asking you give us enough to make sure that we can continue providing the excellent service that NMC has always provided the community.
All right. Anything else you want to let the public know that I didn't ask about?
Yeah, I want to just kind of provide the assurance that there are a lot of challenges, but the Northern Marianas is no stranger to challenges. We can go as recent as the pandemic and the typhoon, super typhoon U2 and Typhoon Sodalor. We can go as far back as World War II. We can go even further back as our colonial history. But one thing I know about the CNMI, and one thing I know especially about the college, is that we don't ever let that sink our proa. We continue to sail ahead, and despite all these challenges, we are doing wonderful things here at the college. We are building a new campus. We are supporting local entrepreneurs and businesses through SBDC and our School of Business, and we continue to fulfill our mission of cultivating stewardship through scholarship, helping our students, our farmers, our broader community succeed.
All right, thank you.